You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
The following production is part of the We Be Geeks podcast collective.
Ian, look at this. What, it's a police box. What on earth is he doing here? I mean, these things are usually on the street. I feel it. I feel it, you feel it? Faint vibration. It's alive.
Earth Station Who, a fun mashup celebrating nearly 50 years of the Doctor Who universe. Hold tight. You never know where the TARDIS is going next.
You're probably a bit confused right now. I broke the glass. It's all come back to me.
What is this?
That's my ship.
What?
Let me take it from the top. Hello, I'm the Doctor. I'm a traveller in space and time. And that thing buried down there is called a TARDIS. Time and relative dimension in space. You're gonna love this.
Hey there, listeners, and welcome to Earth Station Who. Feels like it's been forever since we've actually sat down and talked to you, and we've got a great first Doctor story to talk to you about, and we are going back to 1964, and we are looking at the Keys of Marinus. It is very interesting. This is my first time actually seeing it. I've never seen this one before. I've read the novelization in the Target books, but I've never actually watched this one. I've had the DVD probably for about 5 years, but I just never unwrapped it. It's still shiny in its plastic still.
Where it will remain.
Oh, very much so. It is a 6-parter, and we have a lot to talk about with it. So we definitely would love to hear what you guys have to say. Please write us a feedback at earthstationwho.com. We definitely would love to hear from you guys. All right. We got a great crew with us. We have, of course, Mr. Mike Gordon.
Howdy.
And Mary Ogle.
Hello, everybody. It is great to be here.
And joining us once again is Julie Filipek.
Hey, guys.
Welcome back to the show.
I just can't stay away. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
She can't quit us. It's so awesome.
You know, that's true dedication. Even I mean, for this story.
One. Especially this one.
We are impressed.
I know. Yeah. I am so impressed. It's interesting because we're going way back. We're coming back to the original crew of Doctor Who.
This might be the earliest story that I haven't seen yet that's available.
Oh, wow.
Because most of the ones that are precede this, I've already seen. The ones that can be seen anyway.
Sure, of course.
I mean, obviously, we'll get into it, but obviously this one takes place after Marco Polo, which is one that everybody wants to see, but it's not available.
That also explains why Ian was wearing that wonderful silk robe.
Yeah, so beautiful. It's so wonderful. It's my favorite thing.
Yeah. Ian rubs it in your face. You can't watch this one, but I'm going to rub your face in the fact that you can't watch it because I'm going to wear this throughout this whole story.
No, and it's interesting because, once again, Susan does nothing again.
And
she screams.
She
screams a lot.
She's very annoying.
I have a dramatics count of how many times did Susan go into hysterics. So don't worry, I have those numbers.
Wow.
We're going ahead with this episode, so let's jump in with both feet.
Betting that's pretty high.
Yeah, let's hear let's talk about Susan real quick.
So Susan had, sorry, let me pull up the numbers real quick. It actually isn't as bad as you expect. There are about 7 times where she's dramatic. And actually in the last episode, she's not dramatic at all. So really that's, averaging, about, 1 or 2 per episode.
That's because she's literally bound and gagged in the last episode.
No one could stand
and that's
her by
not
then.
a bad thing. That's not a bad thing either. And the Doctor was missing for 4 of the 6 episodes, pretty much?
Yeah, he was
go on holiday.
I'm tuning out for this. This is just it's goodness gracious.
Who can blame him?
Before we start really getting into nitpicking and all that, I have to say, I don't like people who are listening to us. If you're listening to us for the first time, or you haven't listened to us review a First Doctor, it's not that we hate the First Doctor. I don't want to give you the impression that we hate the First Doctor, but we quite like him. We really do. This is the first time I've seen this story, first and last. It's the second. Is it the second one in the row? It's the second. It seems like it's the second story in a row that was written by Terry Nation that we're doing.
Yes, it is actually, because we did Planet of the Daleks.
Yeah, how did that happen?
Terry, like somebody really should. That's just punishment. I mean, like Terry Nation, like bless his heart. I mean, I guess the best thing you could say about him is he's not unambitious, right? Like
he's very ambitious, but there is always a certain story arc that happens, and it's always convoluted and really doesn't lead you anywhere, and has a lot of action but no plot.
And there's always two warring factions, right?
Yes.
There's always,
of course there is.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he's only got one idea, and
the Doctor and crew are caught up in the middle.
Well, one thing I do like about the structure of this episode, serial, I should say, is it is very much a video game. In the very
different
different levels of a video game. So all the keys of Marinus are what you're trying to accomplish in each level of the video game, and they all have very specific differences. You have the screaming forest, jungle, and you have the ice planet, and you have Matlock. Those are all your different different levels that you're trying to get through. So at least that helped it keep pace. It kept it going, where it could have just been a very, very long story.
Oh, very much so. The thing is, I enjoyed a lot of it, which is weird because I actually liked the stories more without the Doctor and Susan. I actually liked it was mostly Ian and Barbara. And because they're such strong characters and they're very likable, they're very entertaining, and it's just Ian is such a great lead. And
you're one of those. Sorry. I'm sorry. Barbara is the one who leads the plot. Everything revolves around her, and she is amazing.
Oh, she is amazing. She completely is. I'm not putting her down at all. And there's been some episodes of the First Doctor stories where she's just the damsel in distress. But this story and the following story, which is the Aztecs,
that's a great one.
She is amazing in both of these, and I loved it. I loved every second of it. I loved how she called the guy in the cabin for his BS. And I love that, she was able to figure out all these different things, how she went for going for the fake key with the statue, with the human hands on the statue. Oh God, that was horrible.
Yeah, there were some set issues.
Compared to most of the effects in this, I'd say that the statue with the hands was
one of the better ones.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
Compared to the rest of the screaming forest.
Oh God!
Ouch.
Well, the plants are actually pretty funny. My sister and I were actually laughing hysterically through a lot of this.
Yeah.
Because it was just so ridiculous.
No, in some ways, it felt a little bit like the new series, with, how each one was its own individual tying arc. But also, Judy was watching it with me, and she had said, this is kind of like that Key of Time story. Where they were all going for it was all different stories, but they were all tied together and everything.
And then they had to get keys, and the keys were in different locations, which made no sense whatsoever. They were all really random plot devices throughout the story.
And you would have thought throughout these different storylines, they would have had those bad guys who ended up, where it had the little thing coming out of their heads and everything in their costumes. And, you would have thought they were going to try to get the key also for their thing. But no, you only see them in the first episode and then the last episode.
They're pretty smart. They're like, let's let these guys do all
Let's
the
just
work.
sit around and wait for them.
Exactly.
I mean, moving around in those suits is not an easy thing.
There you go.
Let's be honest.
They're basically scuba gear.
I mean, who wants to jump from city to city in those?
Yeah.
But I mean, that's a very Terry Nation thing to do, to bring up characters like that and then do absolutely nothing with them.
And in the first episode, they died in the most bizarre ways. Like one of them, you have the one who gets destroyed by acid. You have the second one who somehow stabs himself in the back when he's trying to attack Susan. And then the other one falls to his death and has the best scream I've ever heard of someone falling to his death. It's amazing. So they're really not good at what they're supposed to be doing.
No,
they're a bit like stormtroopers. They can't actually hit anything.
Speaking of which, one actually trips as it enters the room at one point. Like it actually.
I noticed that.
I was like, whoa.
I saw that.
I love
like,
these early ones where they're just shooting, right? They only have certain set studio time, so they have to just shoot and get through it. So you hear a lot of people kind of mess up their lines, but they still continue on. And William Hartnell was known for that, but I found a lot about everybody doing that in this.
There is a whole lot of that in this. People were not. I don't think anybody really cared. No,
there was a couple times in that ice cave I saw people hitting their heads on the rock. It was just like, oh, really? So, it was not the best produced episode, but I enjoyed it. It was 6 episodes. I thought it went very fast for me. I don't know about the rest of you guys, but, sometimes when you have a 6-parter, it could easily be a 3-parter. I think this one worked in the 6-part format, especially because each one they had a prize to catch, and you have advanced to the next level. Ding,
And not only did it remind me of The Key to Time, which it would be interesting to see. I mean, we can't obviously talk to Douglas Adams now, but it would be interesting to see if that was any relation, any inspiration, because it just feels like. They're both keys oriented, looking for keys and that kind of thing. And it just seems like it's an odd coincidence if they weren't not links in some format or inspired. Like if Douglas Adams didn't see this and go, this had potential, let's do a whole season of it. But the other thing it reminded me of, Mike, and you'll probably understand this more than anybody, is that the old golden age, Star Comics with the Justice Society, whenever they would get together, they wouldn't do anything as a team. Instead, they'd have some threat. And then they'd all go on separate adventures to get to accomplish something, to defeat the threat. And then at the last 3 pages, they would get together and use whatever they had accomplished to defeat the villain. And it seemed like it was just I guess storytelling was just like that back then.
Yeah, very much so. And, the first appearance of the Justice Society, all they did, each one was a different tale. And all they were doing was sitting around a table. Hey, that's good. Wait till you hear this, and that's what this felt like, it was just like, okay. And this is the next adventure and this is the next one. And, then they finally get to the Perry Mason part where Ian's convicted of a murder. How can he have done it? Blah, 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 And, reading the descriptions, because I'm watching it now on BritBox, and, and it's just like, Ian is framed for, and it's just like, wow, they're going for the same thing as Murder, She Wrote,
Yeah, that was my first thought. Boy, this is an episode of Murder, She Wrote, not one of the better ones. But
no.
Well, I thought it was interesting. They brought in Altos and Sabitha. Altos and Sabitha. They basically become pseudo companions, but not to the Doctor, but to Ian and Barbara.
Yes,
I really like them.
Actually,
they were very strong characters because they just didn't sit by the side. They did more than Susan did.
Way more.
Yeah, they did do.
I mean, Alto's legs were very distracting, I will say.
You're not wrong. What I really liked is in that episode when they're introduced in the Velvet Web, I actually think that's probably my favorite, where you have that weird time jump of, okay, Barbara's already jumped ahead, so let's go find her, and she's living in the lap of luxury. And she's just like, oh, everything is great, and they have this silk for these silk dresses, and you should try these foods, they're amazing. And Ian's like, I don't believe you, this seems off, this is weird. And then all of a sudden it flips, and all of a sudden she's the one who's like, this isn't real. And all of a sudden Ian's like, but it is, it's fine. So I think it's one of the better ones, especially with the point of view shot that they had with everyone.
Oh, that was awesome. That was really well shot.
I was amazed. I was like, I wasn't expecting them to have a POV shot like done that way at that period of time. It was so good.
It was great because you were seeing it from Barbara's eyes and everything.
Right.
And so that it wasn't as grand as they were making out. You're just holding rags. No, it's my beautiful dress. And it's just like, shut up, Susan.
Makes you wonder what they were eating. Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I know. And then the brains with the little eye stalks on the top.
They were hilarious.
And everything. And so when Barbara went in there and started swinging, man, it's like, that was pretty awesome. She like took a couple of the brains right out, smashing the bottles and everything. And it's like, oh, gross. Ew. So.
But amazing. Amazing. So yeah, that was actually what, like, I think one of the stronger episodes, because then we, the Screaming Jungle's just...
That one was pretty bad. Not much happened.
I think that was the weakest one.
I thought it should have been subtitled or retitled "The Screaming Susan."
Yeah, I think so.
And you could easily see the string on the vines being pulled through.
Oh man, that was a terrible effect. Yeah,
the vines are pounding through. They're coming to get us. Oh.
At the same time, if you think about it, with the screens that people had back in the 60s, they wouldn't have seen those strings because that TV would have been. So I think
the screen was probably like that big,
So I think it probably really worked for people. They probably, I think for the 60, for the time period, it's actually done pretty well. And black and white hides so much.
Yeah.
Yeah,
oh, thank God.
Like a lot of
now,
things. I mean,
all photos of the Earth Station Who crew will be in black and white from now on.
I mean, it does what it needs to do. I mean, you get the message across. I mean, obviously, when Terry or anybody else is writing that kind of thing, it's up to the effects guys to be like, oh, how are we going to pull this off? And, it's not easy with their budget and their time. So I get it. Not everything can look good. And I've seen worse. I don't want to harp on that, but I do want to ask, so I was wondering, this might be, I think, the worst Susan story I've seen, because I just think she's awful in this. From the minute she's, needs to go get new shoes to they're screaming, and then her, getting kidnapped or whatever, and she just is, But I feel bad because I feel like Carol Ann Ford can do more, but I mean it's probably soon after this, right? That she's like, I gotta go.
Yep.
This is not this is awful, right? She
has said that it's awful. Yeah. She hated this episode.
Oh yeah, no.
She hated Susan in this episode.
Yeah. She gets one slight time to shine, and it's in the Snows of Terror. When they're trying to escape the caves, she has a very brief moment of not freaking out and actually doing a pretty good job. And you're like, oh, I see a glimpse of what Susan could be. And then they have her scream some more. And you're like, well, that didn't last very long.
She was great climbing across those beams.
But even that, I was like, what is she rescued doing? Everyone. I thought, is she just freaking out and just I'm like, why is she doing this? And I kept thinking, I was puzzled because I thought they were stupid when they left the cabin. They didn't take their watches with them. I'm like, why don't they just click their watches? Why do they have to go over the stupid thing? But
that made no sense at all. That bugged the heck out of me.
What, the watches? You mean the fact
that they didn't take the watches with them to the cave?
I was watching it. I was like watching them when they were being chased, and the guys, the bridge was out already. It's like, why don't they just the watch? Yeah, exactly. The watches. It's like, why didn't they just push the watch button? They don't have the watch
because the creepy guy who was hitting on Barbara took it from them.
No, but they knew that.
Yeah, but they knew that. Yeah. They knew they were in the drawer, and they had already defeated him.
Yeah, so they were like, "You're going to take us, everything. But we're not going to take that stuff. We're just going to have you lead us to the girls, and we'll leave all that important stuff behind."
Yeah,
that was pretty. That's pretty gruesome. They actually showed him die on a children's show. The whole thing.
Well, they also showed him trying. They showed him trying to rape Barbara on a children's show.
That
yes, they did.
Surprised me.
That
was no doubt what he was interested in, and I was like, "Wow, that's pretty bold."
Yeah,
he's like, eat. We got to fatten you up. It's like, oh Jesus, man.
Especially considering, it was. Who we have leading the show, and you're just sitting there. I'm like, who let this scene get by? Like, who let this happen? Because why would you let this happen? It was very upsetting to me then, and it just made me feel very uncomfortable. I want to take a shower.
There's another scene later on where the wife of the guy in the courtroom scene, and it's heavily implied that he's beating her.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Like,
oh yeah,
that's like
pretty brutal.
It's the biggest downside to, I think, this story arc is those two things, and how terribly women were treated in very certain scenarios. It's just unfortunate.
Well, exactly. The whole thing. Ian and Barbara. Barbara and Susan, actually, sorry, when they left the apartment and the door closed, and you heard her being beaten, and it was just like,
but it's okay because she was like the mastermind behind the whole thing, so it's okay.
Yeah,
she was the bad guy.
She was evil. She deserved it. It's like no, folks, no. It was just like, oh, she's a baddie. All of them are baddies. Ah. So, and then just how they wiped it all up.
Although on the flip side, I will agree with you, and I was impressed that Barbara is written pretty amazing. Now I don't know if originally they were like, okay, she's taking over what the doctor should be doing, and because William Hartnell's like, I gotta go, like, so he wasn't available, so then they just wrote it for Barbara, which was cool, actually, that they did that, because especially the last story I thought, okay, here's where we get to see William Hartnell being like the doctor, right? He's going to rule this. And he does come through at the end. I mean, he's the only one who knows where the chip is, the key is, right? So he does get that, but he can't save Ian on the trial. He just mucks that up. He doesn't actually do anything at the grand finale. Like the doctor, actually, this is like one of the worst, like William Hartnell doctor stories I've seen, because he's pretty much useless.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's no great doctor moments.
No, he's just kind of bumbling through the whole thing when he's there at all.
Yeah, he gets like one line, and it's just like, man should not be ruled by machines. And I'm like,
right at the
why
very
didn't
end,
you say?
Right?
Yeah, and I'm like, why didn't you say that in the first episode when he first told you about this?
Yes.
Because from the very beginning, I was sitting there, I'm like, this is not a good guy, and why are we helping him? And I didn't understand. And then all of a sudden, the doctor's like, oh, at the very end, yeah, you probably shouldn't have done that. Where was this?
Exactly.
Yeah. He should always be, I mean, we've always said he should always be the smartest one in the room. And in this, he just wasn't. He was not at all. And it really, like, he suffers in this story a lot. And this might be this might be one of my least favorite First Doctor stories. And that's considering that earlier this year we saw the Gunfighters.
Wow.
Well, at least they don't sing in this story. So that alone.
And be glad that I'm not covering that I didn't cover that with you guys, because I would have been singing with, so.
Well, that would have been enjoyable. That would have been a lot more enjoyable than the actual story. No. But yeah, this one was, Man, I don't ever want to do two Terry Nation stories back to back.
Yeah, that was not good on our part. We should have.
As soon as I saw he wrote this, I'm like, wait, there's no Daleks in this. What the hell?
Oh, it might have improved it. But then, the chase wasn't that far,
But like you said, it might as well have been. It might as well have been the Daleks because same exact thing,
No, very much so. And it was there were points where it was brilliant, but then it went, it was like a really bad seesaw. And, it's like you're getting excited, then it falls flat.
I don't know if you can recall this because it was probably some years ago, but I do see that Philip Hinchcliffe wrote the novelization, which I'm curious about because I have so much respect for Philip. I'm like, I wonder if the novelization is way better, if he fixes a lot of this in that, or if it's just as bad.
Pretty much just as bad. It was entertaining to read. I remember it, but it's not anything that got impressioned into my mind. So this was all still fairly new to me. So in this one, so it was interesting to see. I wish we could have seen Marco Polo. I wish we could see,
Yep. That's number one on my list of.
I think that's number one on everybody's list as far as lost ones. That one and the introduction of Jamie.
Highlanders.
Yeah,
Highlanders.
Those are the two that I think if I could have a miracle come down and one or two stories of classic Who could be resurrected, those are the two.
Those two, yeah. So someday, maybe, could be in our lifetime.
If we have to trade this one off to get it, I'll be glad to sacrifice this one.
Oh, sure. Out of all the ones they didn't delete, come on.
You're
right. This is the one they saved.
I know. I'm watching. Well, it's probably the Terry Nation estate. Damn it, they probably were the ones that saved it.
That's probably accurate.
Crazy. All right. Before we start tearing this one a new one, which we already have started, do you have any final thoughts on it?
I think I will also agree. As much as I, am not impressed by it and whatnot, I will say, Mike, I do agree with you in the fact that it kept going because it kept changing locations. Every one or two episodes, it was a different kind of story. It took place in different things. So it refreshed itself in that way. But in some ways that also made it feel longer. So it was kind of a double-edged sword because it was interesting. Because I kept thinking, okay, well, reset button, maybe this will be good, and no, it just was still the same. But I do appreciate that aspect of it. I can't say that this should have been just 3 parts because it was a mess. It would have been a mess if it was shorter too. So
I'm not sure that would have helped it.
So let's go ahead and rate this 1 out of 5 TARDISes, 1 being the worst, and I'm curious to see where that'll turn out tonight, and 5 being the best. We're not going to get anywhere close to that. Julie, you're looking quizzical. You're going to go first tonight.
I'm trying to, I'm used to a scale of 1 to 10, so I'm sitting here doing some math in my head just to kind of see
just
where to
divide
go.
by 2.
You know what? And I'm trying to see if I need to alter that at all.
You can't divide 1 but by 2. No.
Well, you can.
Well, you can technically, but
so one of the things that helped with this is when I first watched this, I watched it in order with everything. So I was already in that mindset of, okay, Susan is Susan. We all know what Susan's going to do. She's going to freak out. Barbara and Ian are very strong. And, yes, it does probably suffer the most on the Doctor side. But it was definitely fit the flow of the other stories that were surrounding this. So it wasn't as, I think, as bad from that perspective. So I'm going to end up giving it 3.25 out of 5. I enjoyed it. I like the video game feel of the different episodes, and I just, it has, like, it gets dinged for the doctor and it gets dinged for the guy who is trying to be, with Barbara, which was the worst part. But I still enjoyed it. I still thought it was a fun little romp. So
okay. No, that's great.
At first, I thought you were talking about Ian. I'm like, it gets dinged for Ian? Oh,
no. No.
Because Ian's trying to always get with her, too.
But. Well, but that's
he ends up with her.
Yeah.
Oh, spoilers.
They get
spoilers.
engagement.
And he should, I mean, they're a cute couple. I think, it's too bad that it wasn't, realized in the show as much.
In their final episode, when they finally leave, their engagement photos are shown. It's wonderful. It's great.
Yeah, no, they're a cute couple. I dig them. So.
Exactly. Okay, Mary.
Oh boy. I did not like this one. Even though I did laugh all the way through it, but for all the wrong reasons. It gets 2. I think I'm going to give it a 2, and that's it. It's only getting a 2 because of Barbara. I'm subtracting 3 because of Terry Nation. I mean,
oh wow,
oh my God,
wow.
He has no idea how to write. It drives me nuts that he just puts everything in, including the kitchen sink, and he does not know how to write in such a way that it builds to something, to anything, because everything falls flat, and so you're just left kind of meh, which is too bad, because Barbara actually, as everybody is saying, is fantastic in this, and
she is. She truly is.
I loved her in this, and Susan almost it makes, but from on the other side, Susan is terrible. But yeah, I can't recommend people watch this one. I really can't. So I think I'm just going to give it a 2.
Well, okay, that's fair, Mr. Mike.
Mary stole my line. Actually, it was going to be the same thing. It was going to be a 2, and that's just because of Barbara. If you're a Barbara fan, this is great stuff. And her character is really the driving force, and everybody else is just kind of blah. And unfortunately, it's not a great Doctor story, which sucks. And I just looked it up while Mary was talking, and I do have reason to celebrate, because I do believe that's the last Terry Nation story that I haven't seen. So I don't have to watch any more Terry. We don't have to review any more Terry Nation stories. Or done with Terry Nation. And I'm looking at them, and I think 2 of them out of the 8 or so that he did, I liked, and the rest, I'm sorry, but he's not for me.
That's totally fair. No, that's understandable. Wow. Okay. This is going to be interesting to see. I'm going to give it a solid 3. I enjoyed the stories, the video game feel of it, like we say, the adventures. And like I said, it felt very key to time. I was just waiting for Romana and K9 to show up or something. But it would have made the story so much better. But I don't think Terry Nation would have been capable of writing for them. So for the video game feel, it was the force field around the TARDIS and everything. That's such a video game, trope right there. Oh, you can't get out of here until you complete your missions. And,
that force field might be the best special effect of the series.
It was amazing.
Actually, it was pretty fun watching them all try to do their mime.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. And I felt like when Susan lost her shoe into the acid pool, I just want to dangle my feet. Please do, and that would have been interesting. Exactly. And the glass, it's like glass on the floor. And so Ian gave up his boots for Susan, and he had to walk on the glass, because he's the manly man, of course. Yes. It was just like that didn't make sense. None of this did. So but yeah, solid 3 for me. Definitely would love to hear from you guys at home What did you guys think? Feedback at Earth Station Who. We definitely would love to hear your thoughts on this one. And, did it work for you? Did it not? And, I would love to be able to take vacation right in the middle of a podcast and come back for the very end of it or something. Because that's what basically William Hartnell did multiple times. And, so
Well,
it's just...
don't lie. You've taken vacations while we've been recording often. And show up.
That's what I do for all the Halloween
and
episodes.
At the end, you close the show. Yeah. You've done that several times.
That's what I do for all the Halloween. Oh, yeah, on the Halloween episodes. Dude, I'm playing Zelda while you guys are doing that. It's like, I have my DS underneath the camera line, so it's just like, okay, this is good. So this is perfect. But yeah, no, I would. It's just amazing to be able to do it. But there was greater things to come, and Susan didn't last much longer, which is pretty awesome. So, so that's a plus. And the people who ask, "Oh, I would love to see Susan come back to the series." Really, you really want that?
If she was given better anything, better lines, not freak out moments, anything like that, I think Susan could be a really great character. They just wrote her as if she was 8 years old.
Yeah.
And pretty
it's
much
one of those things too, where it's, I'm reminded also, it's like, it's a shame that they haven't taken advantage of the fact that William Russell and Caroline Ford are still around, and yet they still ignore them. I'm like, they could use them. And everybody would love that. And I just don't know why they haven't done that.
That's what I loved about Adventures in Time and Space, because they did use them.
Yes, they did. Yes, exactly.
They both of them appeared in it. And so, I'm surprised the series hasn't taken advantage of it or something. Hell, have an older, Caroline Ford as Susan come on, and she regenerates into a younger Susan or something. Wouldn't that be awesome? Hello, it's writing itself right in front of us. If somebody like me can come up with this idea, why can't the brains over at Doctor Who?
Because Chibnall.
Good point.
Chibnall.
Good point. Right there.
Definitely not going to happen with Chibnall.
You know what? I'm gonna stop you guys and say, like, you know what? I've said some harsh words about Chibnall as well, but I'll take Chibnall over Nation any day of the week.
And with that, we will be back again in 2 weeks, folks. We are going to be going back to Dragon Con. We are doing Doctor Who 101. So intro for what to bring people into Doctor Who, basically explaining the series to people. So it should be a lot of fun. And it was a great, great panel. We had a lot of great folks on that one. So Julie, you want to promote your podcast?
Yes. So I am a part of Watchers in the Fourth Dimension, or Watchers in 4D for short. And we are going through and watching all of Doctor Who from the very beginning. So right now we are in the second Doctor era. So already done Keys of Marinus, but so you can find us on all of your podcasting apps, and we have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You'll be able to find us.
They're knocking it out of the ballpark, folks. I listen to every episode. It's a lot of fun.
Thank you.
I am the one listener. No, just kidding. They actually do a really good job. And, and it's cool because they all started on my podcast. So it's pretty fun. So it's like kind of a spin-off. So it's kind of cool. But yeah, congrats, guys. I'm really, really happy for how far you guys have made it, and the interaction between you guys is really well and everything.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's like I only knew Anthony, and then the other two, they've now become great friends, and we're just waiting for the day that we can go karaoke again.
So anyway, Mary, thanks for being on the show also.
Thank you. Bad Doctor Who is still better than a lot of the other crap on TV.
I don't know. I don't ever think the Earth Station Who crew could ever get together and do karaoke. I don't know about that.
Why not?
I think it would empty the any restaurant or any club out.
Hey,
that's why you do Korean
yourself.
style. Korean style karaoke.
Karaoke.
Then you just sing in front of each other. It's fine.
Okay.
And drink a
So,
lot.
Mary, anything you want to promote?
You can find my artwork at maryogle.com or on Etsy at eVision Arts.
Excellent. Thank you. And Mr. Mike, we made it through another one, my friend.
We did, and as always, it's my pleasure, even though 2020 feels like we're living in a Terry Nation story.
It's a good way to put it.
I have to get these Terry Nation digs in now because this is the last time we're doing a Terry Nation story.
No, it's good. It's good. Let it all out.
Yes. So for all of those people at home, like I said, we're going to be doing Doctor Who 101 in 2 weeks, but then we'll be back the episode after with the Faceless Ones.
Woohoo!
So that's going to be a lot of fun. Mike and I got our discs today, and, you know, the people in the UK are laughing at us like, you suckers. And, you know, my one gripe to BBC, why didn't they put it out on Blu-ray here in the States? They did it in the UK. So
No respect for Classic Who here.
I know. I guess we're the Rodney Dangerfields of Doctor Who. I'll tell you, folks. I tell you. So with that being said, on behalf of all of us here, be safe. We will see you here next time on the Your Station Who podcast. Peace. And we are done. Boom.
You have been listening to Earth Station Who, a bi-weekly pop culture podcast dedicated to all things Doctor Who, featuring talents from across the universe. All topics on the show are the sole opinions of the individual and are used for entertainment value alone. You subscribe to our podcast up on iTunes, Stitcher, or follow our blog at www.esopodcast.com. You can also follow us up on Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. If you enjoyed the show, please leave feedback up on iTunes.
It was Sean and the podcast about mankind. The Soulforge podcast was a dream given form. Its goal? To prevent fear by creating a place where humans and aliens could work out their differences peacefully. It's a pod for all, with topics including love, loss, sex, dating, and so much more. Humans and aliens wrapped in the ESO network, all alone in the night. It can be a dangerous place, but it's our last best hope for peace. The year is 2020. The name of the place, Soulforge Podcast.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping at the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.